Oh, drown him with his gold, 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 oh. Through the years and winds that blow, here comes our pirate star to row. He lives and dreams all roads to go, his dreams all filled with goods untold. Oh, drown him with his gold, 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 oh. Looting ships from dusk till dawn, with cutlass sharp and cannon sword. The crew all cheer, hey! As chests to fill, he plunders rob, he raids and kills. Oh, drown him with his gold, 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 oh. Faithful knight, by full moonlight, he spies a ship with sail so bright. He charts a course with greedy grin, the Jones have hands for all this sin. Oh, drown him with his gold, 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 oh. A war is raged between the ships, as decks are splintered, sails all red, but seas decide which side will win, with crashing wave and raging wind. Oh, drown him with his gold, 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 oh. Tempest, thunder, darkened sky, the pirate meets a grim demise. With gold in hand, he sinks below to ocean's deep and softly stroll. Oh, drown him with his gold, 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 oh. Laying low in Lockahole, a tale of grief forever told. He kept his end in Davy's touch. The pirate prayed his gold too much, oh, drown him with his gold, 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 drown him with his gold, oh, drown him with his gold, 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 oh, drown him with his gold, oh. Thank you very much, folks. Warr, exactly. Folks, yeah, are they working? I'll explain that bit. Thank you for that. So, good afternoon, folks. My name is Luigi Coppola. Thank you so much for being here. It's a privilege, it's an honour, and I'm very out of breath after my one sea shanty. So, I think I know roughly half of you. Half of you are strangers and new friends. Thank you so much for being here. Some of you I met on the beach this morning with a little promotional card. Thank you so much for coming. Some of you I've known for many decades. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Luigi Coppola. I grew up in Bexhill. I thought I escaped, but it keeps dragging me back because it's such a lovely place. As a teenager, I had very mixed feelings about Bexhill. Now I love it. I love coming back here. I can imagine me retiring here. I'm not sure if my wife does, but I love coming back here, and I've got my family here as well. If they could have a lovely round of applause. Again, it's a good start. Thank you so much for being here, folks. How are we doing there? Good stuff. Rosa, how are we doing? Here's my nephews and nieces, yes? Good stuff, thanks. So, folks, we are celebrating my debut poetry collection. Yes, you heard that right. Debut after 30 years of writing. So it's been a long apprenticeship. It is a collection that's been about 15 years in the making. I work with an artist who, as you can see, is a fantastic artist. His name is Mark Shuttleworth, and we've been working together for about 15 years. It's a collection of poetry, art, music, performance, multimedia, all that jazz. If you wanted to follow along while I'm reciting poetry, I've turned on the subtitles. Now, if they swear, that's not my fault. That's just the algorithm misreading what I'm saying. That's not my fault. So I take no liability for that. If you prefer to read along, that's absolutely fine. Copies of the book at the back. You're more than welcome to take one. If you are happy to buy one at the end of the day, that's great. But the reading is completely free to celebrate being back in Bexhill. And in honour of that, I wrote a poem about the Delaware, which includes, hi there, how you doing? Which includes a few specific moments from when I was a teenager which I've got the chocolate for, but more on that later on. It is called At the Warr Pavilion on a Fine, Fine Day, which it is with you lovely people. This will also be a free prize draw. So at some point, maybe James at the back might pick a random person, and I'll sign it, and you'll have your own copy of the poem. One of a kind. At the Warr Pavilion on a fine, fine day, the sea behaves itself only out of awe, or so I decide, as I walk the curving terraces of the Warr Pavilion. The building purrs, a low, salt-coated purr, like a cat that knows it has found the perfect spot to lay down on. Sunlight slides across the glass in long, golden strokes, nonchalant. Inside, the stairwell coils upward in a stark spiral, the sort a host might conjure up when trying not to alarm the guests. As I wander, I recall me as a boy, staring at the cliff of its edges, basking in its reflected light, and being told off by the security guards for running up and down those dreaded steps. And then the air grows thoughtful too. The shadows rearrange themselves for better composition. A gallery label mutters directions in the tone of someone who is trying not to seem enchanted, which of course means it is. A saucer filled with tea. Even the breeze appears to have opinions, brushing past the smell of brine and unfinished business. Down on the promenade, the horizon heaves just a little, as if testing my balance and my belief in objective, modernist reality. Yet the Warr stands steady, they agree apparently. Solid, luminous, inexplicably amused, inviting me and you to keep walking, to listen, to discover what it might say next on this fine, fine day. Thank you. Being a poet, I have no idea what order of poems I put in, which is why the PowerPoint is there. So I thought I would start off reading to the book with a title poem. It is called Even God Gets Distracted Sometimes. I'm primarily an agnostic. Spiritualism seems to come up a lot in my work. Not sure why, God poking me to believe perhaps. And Mark and I wrestled, one time literally, over the art and the placement. We argued about the millimetres of where the title should go in the frame. And as you can see, I've got a few shots of Mark drafts of the artwork for the title piece. Fantastic artist, and we're really pleased with how the collection works. We designed the front cover together. So this is called Even God Gets Distracted Sometimes. I got halfway through and then gave up. The beak, an empty orbit. The breast strung out like a Stradivarius. The wings thin as slices of rump veal, soaked in milky confidence. I was thinking of tinkering with the tendons, the first incarnation tore in half on takeoff, a failed, soulless game, squalling and squawking, ripping at its own guts and dissolving away to pink bubbles. The second mishmash from matter from that miscarriage of a brother did no better. It dived head first into a mountain, collapsed during collision, waiting to be reassembled. I recycled instead for this third half attempt. And if I had more time, I would finish it. Really, I would. But now the wind stands still. The sun sinks to a lunar self. The light echoes through my canvas corridors. I hear last week's work wind down all those distractions to earth. That serpent slithering and whispering again, and those two giggling malcontents dining on something that they were told explicitly not to pluck. Thank you very much. So, you see the art, and I think, if I remember rightly, I wrote the poem first, and then I asked Mark to draw me something inspired for it. But sometimes it works the other way around. This particular image, Mark gave me in a pub about 15 years ago. And I said, oh, I'm a poet. And he said, oh, I'm an artist. 15 years later, we have a collection together. So this is one of the first pieces we worked at together, and it is not autobiographical. What old Father Earth asked of his daughter, come, my daughter, come and play. No, my father, I cannot stay. But I have built a world for you in Bexhill. I'm sorry, Father. It will not do. But what of the trees that dance in the breeze? I am sorry, Father. They will not please. And what of the cave where sprites rave? I am sorry, Father. I do not crave. And what of the stream where fish strove and beam? I am sorry, Father. I am not keen. Then tell me, child, what do you need? What can I make to keep you a seed? I am sorry, Father. I need the sky where my mother is free to fly. I need the sea where sisters drift. I need the mist where grandmothers sift. It is not you. It is you. You are not to blame. What? But father and daughter are not the same. You build on earth and you call it home. My kin and I, we must rove and we must roam. Then I will rumble and I will quake. I will destroy and I will unmake. I will cave in, I will tear down. I will burn and I will drown unless, oh child, oh daughter, you stay. Oh no, my father. Not even a single day. Thank you. Okay, so just like any good boy band moment, they have a song where they sit in a chair and it's really quiet, really moody, and it shows how serious they are. This is my moment. So this is called A Bird on a String. Mark showed me this picture. It's actually a detail from a bigger picture. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, you see dogs on leads all the time. You don't bat an eyelid. As soon as you see a bird on a lead, that just looks very strange and very odd. So this is called A Bird on a String. However, I'm also a music producer as well as a poet. So I've got lots of stuff online on Spotify, YouTube, like and subscribe. So I thought I'd do one of the poems' music version, and this is called A Bird on a String. Sorry, folks. Of course, there will be technical difficulties in whatever endeavour you try to do. Let's give this a go. Bird on a string on YouTube. Instrumental. If in doubt, play for YouTube. knotted tight in a bind design. Strung up spasm, black and grey, his feathers catch and strain and fray. A bird on a string, on a string, a bird. A bird on a string, on a string, a bird. It twists its head to scan the sky as claws clutch air too warm to dry. It gasps for life, not hung in flight. It is rage, earth, a tangled kite. A bird on a string, on a string, a bird. A bird on a string, on a string, a bird. Narrow shadows of split-end snare, it tethered him and strangled prayer. The string is taut, it hums and it sings. Its clear skies fill with freer wings. A bird on a string, on a string, a bird. A bird on a string, on a string, a bird. Thank you very much, Warr. So I often perform just as music set sometimes, but yeah, back to my proper roots, I suppose. So this next piece is called. Well, it's called Hares and Rabbits. Now, Mark, I was very fortunate to be invited to his wedding, and he, in his RSVP, he produced. I've not timed this very well, I need to recycle through. So there were 3 rabbits going around in a circle. That was his RSVP. So I wrote a poem called A Prayer to Rabbits. There's the original one. Mark then goes and changes the art to be about hares, which is very annoying. So when we have an argument about it, I have to change the poems. But I think it worked out well. This is called Hares and Rabbits. The rabbit's rapid racing hides the fearful, nervous hearts inside. Hares' ears twitch when howls are heard, and off they go, so furred and spurred. Oh, Easter, oh, Artemis, watch over bloodshot eyes. Oh, Huldah, oh, Aphrodite, hear their chattering cries. Across the field and into the burrow, hares know danger in their marrow. Kittens of rabbits clamour to a warmth as dirt shakes down from crumbling walls. Oh, Elarara, oh, Tuli Hashem, oh, Wen At, oh, protect them. Keep them from harm, from any threat, and never let their skinned sun set. Thank you. Anyone else watch All You Can, whether a teenager or younger and start just yes. Amazing book, please do read. But anyway, so Mark and I were both teachers. 15 years ago, we were in a pub crying, as all teachers do on a Friday night. And and the sort of collaboration started from there. And the first school we met at was called the Ravensbourne, one word. And Mark and I, in honour of that school, devised this poem called The Ravens Born. Anyone got the page number? 30? You know better than I do. The Ravens Born. Another sort of God-infused poem, tinkering away with a selection of birds. He clasps the glistening clay inside his hand, and kneads, and works, and shapes, and smooths, and bakes, while hordes of sculpted birds awkwardly stand, and screech, and squawk, some mere trials or mistakes. The magpie snatched a ring, and skulked away. The dove smirked, snapped the branch within its beak. The owl twitchingly stared in shock, dismay. The phoenix detonated with a shriek. The mockingbird sang one sole song so lazy. The pigeon struck the stone wall with a thwack. The peacock got cocky. The cuckoo crazy. The crow chased worms and then never came back. But the raven stands still, poised every dawn. And that was how this bird's legend was born. Thank you very much. It's a good time to mention. So a lot of these pieces are set to music, or there's alternate versions or drafts. If you go to this website, Linktree, Ravensbourne, there's a QR code in the book as well. You can see draft versions, a bit like the rabbit, with Mark building up the detail, which is from an art fan just by itself. It's quite interesting to see as well. Okay, this is dedicated to my fellow teachers in the room, especially Chris Pacific as well, who inspired me to be a teacher. I've been a teacher for 20 odd years, hence the grey in my beard, you might be able to tell. And it's a career that's up and down. I love it. I think it's very much a vocation, I think. And this poem is relatively political in terms of the education landscape, and it is called The Elephant in the Exam Hall. All the students I'm about to mention were real students I taught. I take out their surnames, but real students I try to teach. Tommy sees numbers in a sea of letters, all shapes contorted and distorted. Amira's hand cannot handle the pen, its hidden river flowing uphill. Leslie prays to the God of questions that they aren't asked anything ever. Mohammed's eyes file midnight receipts while trying to keep his head above orders. Euron keeps counting the clouds for the trees and scratches off the silver lining of every forest. Tomorrow, the same dawn will rise on the same desks, on the same tests that Tommy, Amira, Leslie, Mohammed, and Yoram will take, all with the same elephant in the exam hall, expanding and screaming and bleeding, hanging above them all, dribbling down noughts and zeros on every single word they will not write. Thank you. And while I travelled, so I use the word escape because that's what it felt like when I was a teenager, but now it's nice coming back. When in London, I suppose maybe one of the first times, or it might even be the Bexhill shop here, I saw some taxidermy. And I have such a clear memory of seeing a cow's head, which is quite unusual for us taxidermists, but there you go. And this is called The Eyes of Animals. Page number? From 11. Thank you. The Eyes of Animals. I'm looking through the shop window at the filled rows, glass boxes, and more. Did I mention the smell? Was there one? Yes, it was musk, warmth, dust, alcohol infusing this high street zoo of frozen frames, trim and pimped on quiet pedestals from open field, wood, stream, to shelved herd, flock, shoal of distant cousins. I'm staring at the cowhead, its pert ears pointless satellites, its nose a dried oyster glued back on, slightly off angle, its eyes in their wide blackness reflecting every blade, fence, muddied machine, and that final hollowing out by prod, then pistol. Grades? A minus? A plus, thank you. No teachers. Okay, so this is called Invasion of the Rubber Duckies. I asked Mark to draw me a pub sign. So I want you to imagine this outside the pub, maybe swinging slightly as well, and maybe I'll give you a feeling for it as we read it. Page number. This is the interactive bit, by the way. Invasion of the Rubber Duckies. We heard the freighter crack open on the rocks. Our lighthouse had been blinded for days while the storm had engorged. At first, we worried about surviving. But the captain and his single plucky mate had safely digged to the lost mermaid to drown that sunken sorrow. But their cargo had other ideas. Buoyant and bright, they bobbed towards the brown-weeded beach with yellow flanks and orange bills, setting the surf a-shimmering with their shininess. Once ashore, the plastic mass quacked in hands and wheezed under feet. Last year, the oil spill took weeks to drum. The year before that, the speedboat's white powder mysteriously disappeared. But this time, we came skipping, our children, laughing, jostling amongst the washed-up joy, with our thoughts not on the storm, but on the next bath time. Thank you. So, a bit of a poll here, I suppose. Mark and I wrote a poem and I gave it to Mark, and I asked him I need a rhino in it. So, his first draft was this. This is Angry Rhino. He's very angry. And this is Sad Rhino. Any hands up for guesses which one made it in the book? If you've already flipped the book, you know which one it is. Hands up for angry. Hands up for sad. It was. Did you cheat? Did you look at the book? Everyone's gone for sad. I think Mark will be happy with that. And yeah, I think we ended up preferring Sad Rhino as it came to be known. Page 15. Oh, really? That early? Fantastic. Okay, so this is called The Last White Rhino Flicks the Bird. And I don't mean ox pickers pecking on my back. Those comrades squawk when danger appears in its hats, with its guns in wheeled juggernauts, not camouflaged enough for my tastes. No, this is to you from Nosehorn, from Black and White, of Indian and of Java and of Sumatra, though really all of us are like a greyish brown, the colour of moist earth and foreboding sky and whatever we find to eat. This is from Ton Plus Behemoth, the Umwonka, from one that bows to only elephants and extinction. Dangerous and endangered, stroke my armour, pray at my bulk, and if you dare, kiss my all. We were the crash, the widged, the horned-nosed herd, amalgamation of language and form across eons, browsing with soft, muzzled, prehensile, and knowing, grazing the leaves, twigs, and truth amongst the shrinking plains and stripped bark. Sure, our brothers and sisters, the horse, the zebra, the tapir, the ass, have the same toes and tails, but who has the girth, the weight, the mistake of size in a world too small, too loud, too lustful for our bone to saw and grind and sell? Imagine every single clipping from every finger and toenail you have ever let fly across a room. Imagine every strand of hair cut and allowed to be swept away. Imagine all that diamond compressed, sculpted in Warr, pointed to perfection, and then you would have me. But you have me already, don't you? Across the cracked field, down the parched river, past the split rocks, off my continent to a world of dead grey, shining plate, and forged weapons, too much for my perfect grey, my pulsing plate, my proud weapon. I can hear and smell your terror, but I'm blind to your wrath. Leave me to run on open land, to rub against arching trees, to wallow in luxurious mud, so it cakes across my body, and leave me to dream, alone, breeding one calf at a time, while 3-year-olds jostle in the herd's warmth. We were clear, towering dung marks our land, so be careful where you stand, for every one of your footsteps are taken in our footprints, in our footnotes, to the Anthropocene epoch. Thank you. Goodbye, stand 10 more hours.
Yeah,
10 minutes.
10 hours, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, this next piece, I gave Mark first, and the poem was partly inspired by a Philip Larkin poem where he imagines water being of a divine element, which in many villages it is anyway. But it got me thinking, I want to do my own poem like that, and I was playing with a piece of string. So this is called String Theory. Page 77. Thank you. I'm going to go around and pause my prompts, which is my wife and my two kids here. Thank you. Bravo. String theory. We settled on string, having tried and failed to use, among other things, wood, plastic fire, bread, talcum powder, tubal vitamins, macadonium, nail clippings, breath, and thoughts about mothers. First, we pulled apart the strands and untwisting of a Russian doll's hair, every length identical to the fibre, every width laughing at the hair on the hands that tugged them free. We licked each end as if thread from a cosmic needle. We burnt loose wisps away. We pulled and tugged and jerked, and then they could be held erect and parallel to our feet, quivering at the tension. And then the real work began. We made shapes and outlines, timed, twined, and twirled until a form formed in the air, a structure of twine, a frozen explosion of a ball of wool, mercurial, morphing, warping in the breeze of our sides. That night, we rested in shadows, exhausted children in a spider's crate, with lines of black cast on sweating tan. It spoke to us in our dreams. We woke to road burns on faces, limbs tight from this tourniquet of faith, our blood and our hopes clogging our veins. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to walk one or two more then, see how it goes. So, I'm a big monster movie fan. One of my favourites is this chap, King Kong, who's a classic character. If you get to see the original 1938, I want to say, any film buffs here? Something like that. The original one still stands out. Page 57. So, this is a reimagining of King Kong himself in today's world. King Kong calls it quits. It was more of a laying down than a death. He picked out slugs with shotgun-length fingers, made more difficult with the matted air and the howling traffic, and the screaming voyeurs, and the kind of ennui only a last great ape could feel, heaving himself up. The mangling of lampposts and telephone boxes only added to injury. The indignity of being a king in a china shop. The streets a single railroad beam, his mass teetering along with resigning grunts. He had dreams of being even bigger, but that all came crashing down along with bursting bulbs and phlegmatic planes. He wanted a quiet life now. That's all. To take up a whole beach, a beached ape sunning himself with palm trees and drinking from tankers. He would let the sun set, maybe even stand if he felt like it, and see it longer than anyone ever could, leaning on the mountains like a local bar. Surely his time on creaking stages and residuals from his silver-backed screen would see him through a silent movie retirement, what with the merchandising, sequel royalties, and dream match versus blockbusters, where, of course, in the end, he would always win. If only life were like that too. Last I saw of him, grey head, shiny bald patch, crooked back, and fangless mouth. He seemed content to play the sleeping ape, curled to a feralless fetus state, closed-eyed and mossed over, just another mound at the foot of those 9 great white letters. Thank you, King Kong, for your service. One more, and then that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Chair back.
That's right, I like standing.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, let's finish off my last poem for today. Thank you so much for listening, folks. I really appreciate it. James and the dwlp have been so kind. They've set everything up for me. It's been a pleasure coming back home in so many different ways and performing here. I used to run around and get told off when I was a teenager. So it's just lovely. And thank you so much for joining me today. The book is available to buy, but I believe that art should be as free as possible. So I love giving people free readings. You can check out stuff online, like and subscribe, all that jazz. And thank you for listening. This is my last poem. It is called Autumn Waiting, and it is page 25. Thank you. Autumn Waiting. Our family's land once rolled all the way to the horizon. We had pitched in with our pitch, digging ditches and tracing furrows across sun-soaked land that yielded all we had needed. And we worshipped the visiting animals, the foxes and their searching eyes, the badgers and their rooting noses, the rats and their scurrying habits. But the birds held a special place. We left seed on walls and watched them dive, then hop along the top, pecking at crumbling brick, their slight frames shimmering against the red. We would gather twigs and leaves, offerings left at the bottom of the garden, at the base of the oak, old and knotted and twisted through years and miles, after our father's father had planted it. Now, our father had made a different gift, with timber shorn and salvaged from the storm-wrecked shed, a tiny double-roof porthole home lined with our sheep's wool, picked for the fence. And with autumn waiting, we watch. His hands smooth the sides, round the edges, screw it all together, firm and steady. He had learned his lesson with the shape of the battle. I love the brush strokes. He stained the outside with thick water, a blessing that brought out the grain, the dark rings of ages and years, straightened to lines along a man-made plain, its fumes, stinging noses and weeping eyes. The morning was ending, while he stood teetering on the ladder, as he stretched, grunts timed with hammer blows, oaks solid against his thundering hand, and with the perfect alcove opened, prized by her hand, perfectly sized for this new home. It was as if she knew that decades later, we would be here, then, filling that gap for a life to fly in and nest in and lay in and to warm and to hatch and to feed and to lead as we did. Decades again after that, I stood in the same spot, old yolk replacing a mere egg. The oak bowed, the field brown, the house empty. But the bird box still there, echoing a new age's call with my mind, echoing inside its walls. Is that all brilliant? Thank you so much. I've been Robert. Thank you so much for listening. It's been such a pleasure today. I am around for a while if people want to talk until they kick me out at last orders from the Pavilion. I will be happy to sign books, but otherwise I hope you enjoy the free reading. Thank you so much for being so lovely. Enjoy the rest of your lives. Thank you so much.